everyone, Jess here, and I'm coming to you with something a little bit different today. So it was Lincoln's first birthday not that long ago, and excuse me, and I decided I would make him something special to go in his bedroom. So he's been moved out of his nursery and he is now in his big boy room downstairs at his house. So I thought I'd make him something special to jazz up his room so it's not just plain boring white walls. And so I went through my stash and found all of my spotty paper and tried to line them up in sort of color progression. So I've got orange, sort of a dark reddy orange, red, blue, a bluey green, yellow, and then a light yellow. And I'm just tracing the letter so I've flipped the letter over so it's the reverse side, and I'm tracing that on the back of the piece of paper. Now, I started with a bad example because the letter N, I totally traced it fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I put it right at the edge of the paper and traced it up so that it used, and didn't leave any scrap on the paper and anything like that. And then I realized that the particular piece of paper that I chose has like a border on it sort of thing, like the yellow right around the edge is darker than the yellow in the middle, and I really wanted the yellow from the middle, didn't I? So I had to trace it again and start all over, but it's no big deal because you don't see the tracing on the other side. So cut all that out, throw away the small scraps and keep the big scraps. And then I was working in a bit of a chain gang with my mum, thank goodness, because it's actually Lincoln's birthday party tomorrow, so I'm running a little bit late. And then once I'd cut those out, I passed those on to my mum. And what my mum did is she used watered down white glue, so watered down PVA, and covered the entire letter with the PVA, so not the paper, the letter, because the paper would get all warped and floppy and be really hard to then pick up and try and splat it onto the letter. So put paint all over the entire letter, quite a lot, because I really wanted to make sure they would stay, and especially all the way around the edges to make sure it doesn't peel up or anything like that. And then she went splat with the paper and stuck that down onto the letter. Now, it's a super hot day today, so in terms of having these dry, she had to actually work so fast because the glue was drying at the start of the letter by the time she got to finish painting the end of the letter. She had a small paintbrush and she had to swap to the biggest paintbrush I had because she could not paint the glue on fast enough. So for us today, drying, not an issue. They were dry straight away. Now, because I was tracing all the way around the outside, the paper's just a touch too big for the front of the letter, so I am just trimming a few bits and pieces down a little bit. That's sort of a matter of preference. I wanted the paper to fit really quite snug. If you don't mind having a little bit of overhang, because to be honest, you can't really see it. It's just my perfectionism coming into play here. I cut that down. Also, my little tip, if you do try this at home, just make sure you cut on the inside of the line that you've traced. So don't cut directly on the line, don't cut on the outside of the line, cut on the inside of the line, and then you really won't have very much to need to trim down later anyway, because it'll fit pretty much perfectly. So I'm going to skip ahead in just a minute. I'm sure you get the idea of how to trace around these letters and cut them out. That's not a whole bunch of rocket science, and especially not now that I've explained it out to you. So another way to use up some of your scrapbooking stash, we've all got so much paper in our stash. Katie's a bit cheeky. She'll tell you she doesn't have that much paper, and she doesn't have that much loose leaf paper, but she has so many kits and they have paper in them. So I still think she's got a ton of paper too. Now, I'm using a super cute collection to embellish these letters with that Katie actually gave me for my boys to use on a birthday page for them. So I didn't use any of the birthday things, but I did use a lot of the ephemera. And it's by Doodlebug, and it's a super cute little boy birthday. There's dinosaurs and Vikings, and I will go and find out what it's called. I just can't remember right now. So here are the letters. They're just about finished. Mum's still got one or two of them, I think, because his name's not Clin. Clon. Don't know how you'd say that without the rest of the word in there. So there's the collection there. You can see I actually didn't end up using any of the stickers. I just used the ephemera pack. And I'm going to rustle around for a minute and find the ephemera pack. Here it is in my kits. It is by Doodlebug and it is called Dragon Tales. And it's super cute. It's actually is a little bit birthday themed. There are cupcakes with candles in them. There are dragons blowing. Could be blowing fire. Could be blowing out the cupcake. You know, to each his own. There are party hats, there are balloons. Now, I chose not to use this sort of birthday-esque things because I want this to be on his wall for always. I chose to use the more generic, just cute embellishment things. So you can see that I've lined them all up along the bottom. And as I said, I am going to pull out like the presents and stuff like that. I don't include those in the end when I'm making the layout. I also need to tell you, I don't actually glue them on screen because that is literally me picking them up from the exact same place that I put them and gluing them down. So I did actually remove that. So just to explain to you how I glued them was exactly the same way. I got the watered down PVA glue and a paintbrush, but in this case, I did turn the ephemera over and completely cover the ephemera in glue and then put that onto the letter. Again though, because it is such a hot day, it just dried so quickly that there was no problem with sort of the wetness of the ephemera. So I started, we're trying to work out which way those letters should be. Either way, Mum, doesn't matter. So I'm pointing out that if you do the white dots, then it's the same as the L, but if you do the coloured dots, then it's the same as the N. So it doesn't matter, just choose a side, Mum. So I started by putting the ephemera all down along the bottom of each of the letters and then realised pretty quickly that that looked quite same. And I really wanted to spread the ephemera out just a little bit heading up the letters, but like that dragon that was sitting up the top of the N, it looked a little bit random to be like hanging out all the way up there. So I'm just having a little fiddle with all the different bits and bobs that I can find. I think it's about now that I pull away the things that I really don't want to use. And I think it's very soon that Mum comes in and starts putting ephemera down too. Sometimes it's not helpful to have someone else help, but I really tend to like it. I like someone else coming in and making the decision for me. Like if I don't like what she does, then I don't stick with it. But Mum's pretty clever, and so usually I like the creation that she comes up with anyway. So she decided that, I think it was her really that decided I needed more things up the top. So she put that bunting on the letter N, and that's when we started to have a play with the placement of the other things and putting them up a bit higher on each of the letters. I quite like including more than one thing on the page, so being able to spread things up by doing that. But it did look a bit random when you just sat a random dragon at the top of the letter. I just found that a bit strange. Excuse me. So just having a play. Also wanted to mix the amount of Viking and the amount of dragon things that I included on the page. And I really wanted to include that Viking playing the horn with the music notes because obviously Katie and Danny are both quite musical, that I did want to keep that and have that incorporated in the layout somehow, or the decoration somehow. So I have finished placing all the ephemera. This is exactly where it's going to go on the finished product. So here are the close-ups. I also added some little blue rhinestones. Again, I didn't show you those in real life because they had lost their stick and I had to paint each one individually with a little bit of glue. Yeah, that was fun. And I did pop a few of the embellishments up on foam just to give a little bit of dimension. So I hope you liked this video, a little bit different from me today. Maybe it has inspired you to make something for your family, something to decorate your home. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, leave me a comment, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.